I got a little wisdom for your ass today. Preach balance, provoke thought, promote open-mindedness. Wisdom is your perspective on life, your sense of balance. What if we can magnify our own lens of perception? Bob Marley said wisdom is greater than silver and gold. That's what I'm about. Seek wisdom, develop oneself, attack life, and get it. I'm the wisdom dropper. Hello everyone, welcome to the Wisdom Dropper podcast. My name's Daniel Bronze, and I've got a little wisdom for your ass today. It's episode number 6, Promote Open-Mindedness. So that's the purpose of my podcast today. I'm going to talk about open-mindedness, and that's one of the huge goals of this podcast, is to promote open-mindedness for others, for myself, to become better at it. And people that might be listening to this podcast to take some of the information that I share. Hopefully they find it valuable, you find it valuable, and apply it to your lives and do what I'm doing and try to promote open-mindedness to your friends, your family, whoever's around you, because I think it is really important. And hopefully you find out why during this podcast if you don't already know. But let's get into it. So this podcast, I'm going to be talking about open-mindedness, my thoughts, what it is. Also going to be looking at how to recognize closed-mindedness in ourselves and in others, and because I think that's very important to pinpoint that and recognize it so we can be aware and avoid it and change the way we are if we are showing these signs of closed-mindedness. And then I'm going to talk about a couple of little things, 3 things, practical things that can help you become a little bit better at being open-minded. So these are my thoughts and ideas about open-mindedness, and there's quite a few here. And hopefully that gives you a better understanding of how I perceive open-mindedness to be, and then helps you to create your own perception for yourself of what open-mindedness means to you. But for me, it's looking at the world through a wide lens of perception. It's about, seeking to learn and understand the truth through different perspectives. It promotes honest self-correction. You got to humble yourself when you discover a better answer from somebody else, as much as you may have liked your answer or thought you were right. If a better one comes along, you got to humble yourself and take that on board. And open-mindedness, that's what I'm saying. It's about letting pride succumb to humility when your conclusion or answer is incorrect. It's also about approaching disagreements as opportunities to learn, which is a challenge in itself and something that would take practice, learning to develop. It's about holding back judgment until facts and perspectives have been understood and been presented to you. And that's when the 2 levels of thinking come into play. It's about finding balance and control between those 2 levels. The subconscious, the lower level, the emotional level of thinking, versus the higher, the logical, the more strategic way of thinking. Because when conflicts arise, our subconscious takes over, and it's up to our upper level thinking, our logical mind, to take control and rein that subconscious, those emotions back when tensions arise. And that's what open-mindedness is about also. It's also something that we can always be better at, no matter how good we are. So if you reach level 99 in the open-mindedness department, the next goal is to reach 999, and so forth and so on. There is no perfect, you can't master it. You can always get better, and it's a lifelong challenge. Open-mindedness also is not blindly accepting others' conclusions. We must find balance between our own open-minded journey and our own thoughts as well. And we must be assertive. And when the time comes to make a decision, we need to make it. And we also need to know our role. The Rock says, know your damn role. And we need to approach that mindset as well when it comes to being open-minded. Are we the student or are we the teacher? And there are times when, your pride might tell you that you're the teacher, but really you're the student. And you're talking to somebody that's had a lot more success and has a lot more believability, so to speak, than you. And that's when you got to ask questions and seek an answer rather than seek to be understood. So that's my quick fire thoughts on open-mindedness, and hopefully it's given you a good understanding of what it is. There's probably a lot more to it than that, and that's just a place to start on what is open-mindedness. And then next thing I'm going to talk about now is why is it so important. And if I could try to paint a little bit of a picture, it would be to imagine the world if everybody in the world sought to become open-mindedness and practiced the habit of open-mindedness, and then in turn promoted it to everybody around them. It's a crazy thought to think about, but when you look at all the conflicts and all the wars and tensions in history and today, a lot of them probably came from a leader or somebody in a position of power that was closed-minded, that thought they were right and were not willing to accept other people's opinions and beliefs because they were different to their own. And when you think about this and you think about the effect that a closed-minded leader and the damage that person can do, it makes this concept of open-mindedness mean a lot more and become a lot more important. And then I know we can't really control the world around us, and it's not reality. The reality is there's always going to be closed-minded people now and in the future that are leading and running countries and are causing damage. And, it's not just countries. You can look at religions, cultures, races. There's a lot of closed-mindedness in those things that have caused a lot of damage and harm and chaos in the world. And so if we can look at ourselves and look at, hey, if closed-mindedness is one of the big factors of this damage, why don't we go out of our way and seek to become open-minded? And that's why I think this is so important. And, we might not be able to control the world, but we can control ourselves and who we are and make an effort to become better at this principle of open-mindedness. And, it can start in small places like the home, which is very important. You might not think so, but, practicing open-mindedness in the home and disagreements between your spouse and your kids is a great way to start, because they're going to subconsciously learn these tactics from you and develop them themselves. And that's just kind of opened my eyes to the importance of this and why I've made it a core pillar in this podcast. And if I can preach it and promote if I can promote open-mindedness, and in turn one person that's listening to this podcast does the same thing, then it's only going to lead to positive results in the future. Alright, so that's why open-mindedness is important. I think it's huge. I think it's extremely important. And now the next thing that's important is to look at closed-mindedness so that we can be aware of it within ourselves, and then we can also be aware of it with people around us. And this is important because it will identify change, Open-mindedness is about honest self-correction, which I mentioned earlier. So if we're showing these signs and traits of closed-mindedness, we need to be honest with ourselves and go out of our way to fix this and correct this and become more open-minded. So let's go through some of these closed-minded traits. And I got a lot of these from a man by the name of Ray Dalio in his book called Principles. If you don't know who Ray Dalio is, I would say he would be Tony Robbins's Tony Robbins, if that makes sense. People go to Tony Robbins for help, and Tony Robbins goes to Ray Dalio for help, but only in the financial department where he does. But after listening to this book from Ray Dalio, he knows a lot more than finance, and he talks about open-mindedness quite a bit. So what are some closed-minded characteristics and traits that we need to be aware of? Okay, one of them is closed-minded people don't want their ideas challenged. They get frustrated when people can't agree with them. And open-minded people are different. They're curious as to why someone disagrees, and they try to understand why, and then maybe they can alter their opinion from that. Closed-minded people also try to express opinions as facts. And I'm sure everybody's seen this, especially with social media. And these people think they have all the answers. But you got to take into to account believability and the position that these opinions are coming from. And if they are from a level of experience and success, then maybe they are facts. But a lot of people aren't in that situation and they're expressing opinions as facts, and that's a sign of closed-mindedness. Another one is similar to that, and they're more likely to make statements than ask questions. So open-minded people ask a lot of questions. Another closed-minded characteristic is that these people focus more on being understood rather than understanding others. And then they quickly assume when someone disagrees with them that they are not being understood. And this is really interesting. I'm sure we're all guilty of this to a degree. If I can't get my point across, I feel like I'm not being understood. But the fact of the matter is, the other person just disagrees. And open-minded person will accept that and ask questions as to why that person disagrees. Whereas a closed-minded person just will assume, hey, you're not getting it. And will keep trying to get their point across. And, speak over you. And it's more about voicing their thoughts and their opinions rather than listening and hearing what anyone else has to say. Because that's what closed-minded people do. They're more interested in speaking than listening. So a closed-minded person will lack the humility to accept when they are wrong, whereas an open-minded person will go into a situation with fear that they might be wrong. And that's a whole different mindset. A closed-minded person is quick to judge as soon as the subconscious level has been triggered, whereas an open-minded person will pause and suspend judgment and seek to understand before formulating an opinion and making a statement. I thought those were just some interesting things to think about, those closed-minded traits. Which ones are we struggling with? And then looking at them and then, all right, I recognize it now. I'm going to make an effort to do the opposite, and that's be open-minded. And, I've even had experiences recently where I've been closed-minded. Just last year, for example, I was a part of a little social men's basketball team. And, we're all 30-year-olds out to have fun, to compete and try to win. It's more about having fun than getting angry if we lose, I would say. But there was one guy in our team that, to be honest, he's a douchebag. And he would get really angry at referees, players that we played against if he didn't like the call. Just a real crybaby. And then he would even do the same to me and our teammates if we did a mistake and stuff like that. So I couldn't understand this guy. I didn't know what he was on. And I made all these judgments and opinions of him, where it got to the point where my subconscious/emotional mind was close to retaliating. But I held back, and then we had kind of a get-together little lunch, and it was awkward as hell, but I decided to talk to this guy, see what he was about, what he's up to, because I don't know him. And then, he starts telling me that he's quit his job. He's training every day, basketball training, like 2 hours a day. And he's trying to make a professional team in New Zealand. And I was just kind of like, at first I was thinking, what are you doing playing with us then, trying to do this? Because, it's a whole different level that you're after, mate. But just hearing that from him put a different level of perspective towards this guy. And I was able to show a lot more patience and understanding towards why he was the way that he was. And that was just a lesson in open-mindedness that I could think of. There's probably a whole lot more. But I just wanted to share that, you don't really know what somebody can be thinking and why they're acting. I think it still doesn't excuse being like that, being a douche and all that, but it gave me a better level of understanding to why he was like that. And, it made me a bit more understanding, a bit more patient towards him. So yeah, that's a little experience. And now I want to just share 3 little personal things that have kind of helped me become a bit more open-minded. So number 1 was traveling. So I was lucky enough to live in a few other countries up until now, particularly Japan. I spent 2 years living in Japan. Being around these people, this different culture, just opens your mind to people, and it helps you understand people better. It teaches you how to deal with people, because once you're living in their culture, you can have a better understanding of why they are the way they are. And after this experience in Japan, it made me look at different cultures the same way. And, I might find them weird or something, but because I lived in Japan and my mind became open because of that, I can understand these different cultures and accept them for who they are rather than thinking they're weird. And that's the closed-minded point of view. So traveling is awesome. I recommend traveling. I want to travel a lot more. It definitely helps you become more open-minded. The second thing is just trying new things and experiences, trying new food. My wife would laugh about this, because whenever we go something or there's like a new burger at Burger Fuel, I'll always grab the new burger and try it. And it's kind of a risky thing sometimes, but trying new things has definitely helped me become more open-minded. And it kind of goes together with traveling as well. When you're in a different country, you got nothing but new things to experience, but you can always do that with the little things around you in your day-to-day life as well, like little foods, going on different hikes and walks, just trying new things. I think experiences, meeting new people is all going to help you become more open-minded. And the third thing for me that's helped me become better is becoming hungry for knowledge. And this is something that's also taken a bit of practice and developed, because it becomes a habit. And I'm hungry for knowledge. It's a treasure, and the more you know, the more value your thoughts and opinions possess. But in saying that, knowledge means nothing without action. So you got to take that knowledge you've learned, apply it to your life, and it's only going to lead to becoming more open-mindedness as well. Once you know more, once you have more understanding of the world, people, things around you, you're going to be more open-minded. So yeah, I just wanted to share those little 3 personal things that have helped me become a little bit more open-minded. And in conclusion, open-mindedness is very important. It's about finding the truth. It's about recognizing how your ego plays a part, your subconscious level of thinking, finding balance there, finding patience and reacting to things logically, and seeking the truth, finding the right answer without letting your pride be hurt. Because those that seek to find the truth and find answers, ask questions, they're the ones that are going to win. They're the ones that are going to be learning more, and they're going to win at the end of the day. Those people are going to be the winners. And it's important to avoid those closed-minded people, but you can understand it now by what we've talked about, and you can recognize it a lot easier in other people and in yourself, so you know when to avoid it. And I think I want to say something just to take with you as I wrap this up. And as you go on, seeking things through an open-minded discovery, at the end of the day, you're going to have to make a decision. And that's when you can narrow your focus and go after that task. And then when you do that, it becomes about self-belief. And so you can get different opinions, seek things through an open-minded journey, and have answers come to you. But at the end of the day, it's about you and what you're able to accomplish. And sometimes that will conflict with the answers you've been given, but you know who you are, you know what you're capable of. And I've got countless stories where people from higher levels, teachers talking to me as a student, have told me that this is a bad idea, but they don't know what I know and what I'm capable of. So you got to believe in yourself and have that self-belief, and then that trumps open-mindedness at the end of the day. If you can develop open-mindedness, it's a habit. You can always get better at it. You got to continually progress and seek to become better at it. I wish you success. And that is the end of my podcast. Get it. If you would like to follow my journey or connect with me online, check out my blog www.wisdomdropper.com. I'm also on social media, Instagram @DanielBronze_, Facebook and Snapchat @TheWisdomDropper. Have a great week.